Dennis, I think number 9 is quite a biggie. Assessment is integrated into the learning design to provide quality feedback. Isn't assessment supposed to just tell you how good the students are? So
Right.
what is this about, to provide quality feedback? Is this for me to find out how good they are, or is it for me to then now design proper strategies to address their deficiencies?
Okay, now, interesting point. Often in the past, I mean,
Right.
it's less so now, that we thought of assessment as some kind of terminal measure. Students have done the programme, let's measure, do they know these facts, do they have this understanding, do they have this and it's seen as a summative kind of process.
Right.
But what we know is that if you actually understand the learning process, that when we learn, we take in information, we're building understanding, we're developing skills. And what's so important in keeping that process moving,
Right.
helping that individual learner to have some feeling of sort of control, autonomy on their learning, is feedback. So I want to learn to play the guitar, and I pick it up and I'm making a noise like a strangled cat, which I did do. And then someone to come along and say, well, you've got to get the chord just right. So you've got to get those things down.
Right.
And then I'll try that and not quite right. And then, oh no, you must press that. So you get feedback and then you get one thing right. Okay, and then as you then find that you can't do something else, somebody will, the teacher will look at you and say, well, do you understand this? Well,
Right.
no, well, what is the 3/4 beat? And then they might explain that, show you some examples, you try it, you get some more feedback. You remember the deliberate practice bit,
Right.
the last thing, you do a bit more deliberate practice. As you're doing it, you're building understanding, you're acquiring knowledge, you're doing deliberate practice, you get a little bit more competent at it. What the research clearly shows, and research by someone called John Hattie,
Right.
who
Visible thinking.
visible learning,
right.
clearly shows, I mean, it's now not even a debatable argument. Quality feedback from the teacher, from peers, is a major influence
Right.
on the attainment of students. And you're right, it's a both-way thing. As a student, the feedback is helping me.
Right.
But as you kind of look at my learning, you're getting feedback
about my teaching.
Yeah,
Right.
which you can then say, right, for Dennis needs a bit more of this. The class generally needs this. So very, very important to see teaching, learning, assessment. In fact, David Perkins once said that teaching, learning and assessment it's a seamless activity. It's not about, oh well, I do teaching now and then at the end of the year I do assessment. Assessment is part of the learning process and massively important because it gives feedback.
Right.
If you don't get feedback and you're doing it wrong, one is you're likely to get frustrated, you start thinking you're useless, and that's
Right.
why a lot of people actually give up. So it's that quality of feedback that
Sure.
from the teacher that says, this is what I think the person doesn't know. This is, if they do this and practice that for the next day, they'll
Right.
improve. It really is such an important diagnostic mechanism to support learning,
Okay.
and it's a reciprocal thing, and that's why Atty called the book Visible Learning.
Right.
It's so the teacher can see the visible situation of the student, and the student is able to see the visible situation of their own learning, and collaboratively over time
Okay.
improve the knowledge, the understanding, the competence. In other words, student attainment.
Right. Okay.